Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And man, this is a very, very sad case about abuse. And I do some of these videos on these subject matters not to make it salacious, but just to raise our level of consciousness and to keep our head on a swivel that there are all kinds of devilish, diabolical things that are taking place from one human to another each and every day. And it seems as if we are losing our humanity each and every day. And the direction that we're headed, man, it seems like it could be possibly the end of times. You have children that are killing their parents. You have parents that are abusing their children. I did a video yesterday where two young women, 22 and 24 years old, have been accused of abusing infants in Blaine, Minnesota. What a horrific story. But just when you think you've heard it all, man, there is another one that's right there and takes the place of, oh my God, could this happen? And then, oh my God, it did happen. And then, oh my God, there's a story even worse than the previous story. So here we go. And I got to raise my glasses for this. And I'm going to take my time. And please, for my listeners, listen to this story from beginning to end on what these adults did to these children. Viewer discretion is advised, and it is very unfortunate, but we have to talk about these things and get them to stop. This is straight out of Texas. Warped Texas stepdad David Calhoun gets 10 life sentences for torturing children like Vietnam prisoners of war by using cattle prods on their genitals, burning them with gasoline, and yanking out their fingernails and toes. An evil stepfather who subjected children to torture and abuse, worse than victims of war crimes, for almost 6 years has been jailed for 10 lives, or 10 lifetimes. David Michael Calhoun, 38, was found guilty of unimaginable cruelty at a trial in Gainesville, Texas, on Tuesday and received 10 life sentences. He abused at least 4 children, including stepchildren and nephews, who lived with him in a rundown trailer in an isolated lakeside village near the Oklahoma border. Calhoun's wife, Ashley Elizabeth Calhoun, 37, and Mira Grace Evans, 19, faces trial next month and are accused of similar horrific torture of the children. The torture described by the DA as the worst abuse he has ever seen included allegations of setting a child on fire and using a red cattle prod on one of the victims. 4 of the victims, aged 16, 15, 12, and 10, were when they were rescued. So 4 of the victims, their ages were 16, 15, 12, and 10 when they were rescued. And please follow me as I read the story to you. Cook County First Assistant District Attorney Eric Aronson said the abuse was on the same level as suffered by prisoners in the Korean and Vietnam wars. The prolonged period of torture that the defendant put the children through in this case is the worst abuse that I have ever seen, he said. The mental, psychological, and physical torture that they endured for the better part of 6 years is unimaginable. The torture began in 2017 when Calhoun began looking after his nephews and was only stopped in 2022 when one of the victims escaped. The 16-year-old boy got help from a co-worker who spirited him out of Texas to Omaha, Nebraska, where he was found by local police last August the 2nd. Attorney Aronson detailed the horrific abuse to investigators, and all three accused were arrested days later and then indicted in November of 2022. David Calhoun used white zip ties and black and gray duct tape around his wrists and forced him to lay on the ground under the table for what he described as feeling like days, a search warrant said. This is what Calhoun did to this one teenager. The teenager had scars on his wrist from where the zip ties cut into his flesh. Prosecutors described how in March 2022, Calhoun poured flammable liquid on him and set him on fire with a long lighter. The boy was able to put out the fire by rolling around on the ground, but was severely burned and showed investigators a huge burn scar across his abdomen. Every day he was zapped with a 2-pronged red cattle prod, causing scars all over his body, including his genitals. What a devilish and demonic couple that this is all about. The sadistic man also set his penis and testicles on fire with a lighter. He did this to this young teenage boy, leaving more scars. And yet more abuse to the boy's genitals. Calhoun put a yellow hair tie around his testicles for 24 hours. Another time, Calhoun used pliers to rip out his fingernails and toenails, and the boy showed police how one of his fingers only had half its nail. The teen said Calhoun and Evans beat him so hard with knuckle dusters that 2 of his teeth were knocked loose. Calhoun ripped out one of his teeth, and one of the other children extracted the other. His abusers put both of his teeth in a plastic Ziploc bag that police later found. The teenagers were frequently bashed with a 2 to 3 foot metal pipe, showing investigators a 5-inch scar on his leg for a particular savage beating. He also was stabbed with a utility knife, wounding his thumb, and the victim was forced to eat human and animal feces. Another time, the child was forced to pick up a red-hot welding rod and hold it in his hands, causing burn scars. Evans' alleged abuse, in addition to beating the boy with pink knuckle dusters, was of a more sexual nature. Now, Evans is the 19-year-old young lady. Mira wore a latex glove on her hand, covered the glove in hot sauce, and then she inserted her fingers in the boy's rectum, the search warrant detailed. He also reported on a separate occasion that Mira cut a lemon in half and inserted half of it in his rectum. Detectives discovered that more children were abused at other locations across East Texas, including Harlingen, Jefferson, and Athens. The abuse increased until it reached its climax in the summer of 2022 in Cook County, Texas, Attorney Erlandson said. The resilience and strength that the children showed in this case is awe-inspiring. They never gave up and showed tremendous courage from the very beginning. The lasting legacy of this case is that evil will not prevail. Even when things seem hopeless, the children were determined to make their story heard. Pamela Miller, a senior policy analyst with the ASAC Center for Child Policy, classified this as intrafamiliar child torture. A jury took less than 1 hour to convict Calhoun on 5 counts of essay assault of a child, 7 counts of aggravated assault, and 1 count of assault strangulation. They took the same amount of time to hand him 10 life sentences, another 10-year sentence, and 2 20-year sentences. All of these sentences are set to run at the same time. Man, I hope you all listen to that entire story. And like I said, I'm not trying to make this a salacious story whatsoever. What I am trying to do is bring attention and shed light that we have to pay attention to our family members, to what's going on inside our homes, what's going on inside our daycares, inside our schools, also inside our family members' homes and their dynamics, our neighbors' homes. Had this young man not escaped and let people know what was going on, this torturous situation had gone on for at least 6 years. And we have to pay attention. Let's get back to a community spirit. It's just not a me world, it is a we world. And just when you think you hear about the most horrific crime committed against either children or another human being, here comes a story that outpaces the previous story. Where are we headed? If this does not give you clear examples in some of these videos that we are headed towards the end of times, I don't know what to tell you. We have children murdering their parents. I did a story, as I said earlier, 2 young women, 22 and 24, they were daycare teachers, allegedly were abusing infants. And they only got caught due to surveillance video. Thank God for technology today. These 2 individuals, I think, should be placed in prison under the jail, and they should get the same torturous effects for the rest of their lives in prison that they bestowed upon these children. I don't believe they should get the death penalty for this. They should suffer the rest of their lives on this earth the way that they perpetrated these crimes against these young children. It is very unfortunate. This is a classic case where all 3 of these individuals, when they get sent to prison, thank God that our penal system, our United States prison system, is not about rehabilitation. There are all kinds of egregious things that take place in prison. And when these 3 individuals get the jacket or the tag that they were committing torturous abuse against children, all 3 of them, David Calhoun and these other 2 young ladies, his wife and the other young lady, the 19-year-old, are going to have hell to pay in prison. And what goes around comes around, and they are headed towards a torturous rest of their life. The judge gave Mr. David Calhoun 10 life sentences. 10. And then you have a 19-year-old young lady, Mira Grace Evans, who's involved in this, and her life should have been, her entire life is in front of her and not behind her. And now, as a result of dealing with these 2 older individuals, the Calhouns, now this young lady at 19 is going to spend the rest of her life in prison, or at least a long time. Her life will never be the same. The lives of these children will never be the same. You go in to adopt or to take in your nephews and your stepchildren, and you should be there to garner love and embrace them. But instead, they decided to take every demonic negative piece of energy that they had in their bodies and display this against these children. This is a clear example where people need to be aware. Keep your head on a swivel, utilize your 5 senses, and please stay aware of what's going on. We need to have a community spirit. We need to manifest our truth in the right direction. This is a very sad case right out of Gainesville, Texas. Tell me what you think. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth in a positive, righteous, and God-fearing way.